Do you read me?
Be advised, you are coming in weak and unreadable.
Say again, Com Tower. This is Tacho. Do you read me? Over.
Pacho, this is Con Tower. I read you Lima Charlie.
Com Tower, Com Tower. Request permission to launch and commence a field op. Over.
Stand by. Pacho, permission granted. Say again, permission granted.
Roger that. Launching podcast in 3, 2. You are now entering the field op with your host, Pacho Correa, Chief Warrant Officer 3, United States Marine Corps retired. Get some. Hurrah! Get some. All right. What's going on, everybody? Another Baby Friday is upon us, or Friday, I like to call it. And yeah, it's great that the week has gone by so quickly, and we're back at it again. I'm here in my beautiful kitchen. I know my wife is watching the show, so let me just go ahead and get the Keurig. No, no, a free. I just gave a free shot, or a free shout out to Keurig right there. So let me just move some things around. But anyways, we got a good show for you. But before we get started, let's just get all the pleasantries out of the way. This show is brought to you by Primerica. Primerica is a great financial organization that helps you save money, uh, earn money, and get out of debt. Now, one of the great products that they have, and I'm sure you've heard it before, is do you have income and asset protection? And that is through life insurance. There's only three types of policy out there: universal, whole life, and term. And the best one you should get, and that you hope that that you should have, is term insurance. Why? Because with term life insurance, it costs less, but you get a lot more for it. Whereas with the other products that they have out there, universal, whole life, or cash value, um, those are not good products. You get less, you pay more, but you get less. Yes, they're sold as, hey, you can save money and you have a bank and blah blah blah. And you see a bunch of TikTokers and social media young folks out there talking about it, but those are not good vehicles. And if you're interested to learn more and how you can get term life insurance and then grab some money and invest it in a better vehicle, so by the time within 6 years your money has double compounded, then go ahead and check it out right there on the show link. Follow it. Shoot a message to the folks, and somebody will reach out to you and show you what it's about. At the bare minimum, you get a free financial needs analysis and a blueprint on how to save money and get out of debt. And this show is also brought to you by Castle Global Services. At Castle Global Services, they have many different products for both the residential and commercial. One of the products that they also sell is, now that the world has, people are starting to see the world once again and travel like normal, is Truvi. Truvi is a concierge, not unlike all the other ones out there. With this product, not only will they help you find, low airfare, low hotels, low, rental cars and such, but you also get, the assistance of somebody helping you out doing entering visas for different, other countries that have the requirements. You'll get somebody, through Truvi, to help you out and finagle through all that red tape. That way you can, get out there and see the world, because traveling feeds the soul. Okay. The show is also brought to you by the Great American Constitution. Yacht. All right. What does that mean? Is that, hey, look, regardless of where you stand politically, it doesn't really matter. One of the best things that makes this country great is the American Constitution. It gives us the right, under many amendments and such. But the right to bear arms, freedom of speech, all that good stuff that our forefathers fought for. And we can agree to disagree, and this, we can do things that sometimes, I may disagree with you, but that's okay, because I fought for those rights for you. So if you like what you hear, stick around, like, subscribe, and follow. Tell somebody else about it, because it help all the. And if not, then go ahead and check some, perhaps go listen to something else from sitchradio.com. They have some awesome shows like the Tot the Bow Show. I podcast that with Brian Colburn, and Combat Vet Vision with, another guy that's been on the show is Aaron Siebert. So go ahead and check it out and see what happens, and support your local podcaster. All right. And here's an awesome. This show is also supported and sponsored by the VA, and here's an awesome message from them.
Hi, I'm Mike Richmond of the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs with this message for veterans. Are you seeking to honor those who have served and sacrificed for their country? Visit the Veterans Legacy Memorial. This digital platform, run by VA's National Cemetery Administration, is dedicated to the memory of nearly 4.5 million veterans interred at VA's national cemeteries, VA's grant-funded tribal, state, and territory cemeteries, and 2 U.S. National Park Service cemeteries. The memorial's interactive features allow people to remember veterans by posting tributes and comments, uploading images, and sharing a veteran's military timeline, achievements, biographical information, historical documents, and more. Over 45,000 submissions have been made to the existing profile pages since the site was launched. That's the Veterans Legacy Memorial. I'm Mike Richmond.
I was talking today to some fellow veterans, to a fellow veteran who's been on the show, and we kind of discredit ourselves or disqualify ourselves for a bunch of things, thinking that, oh, you know what, I had this or I don't have that, or whatever the case may be. So, it's very important that you get a lot of, you know, despite of how you feel about the VA. I mean, it is an organization that's out there for us, and yes, doesn't it work? Maybe, possibly, anything does. However, there's a lot of great benefits that you have that, and burial is one of them, because burial services do cost a lot. That the regular Americans sometimes can't even afford to be buried and such. So, in addition to that, the VA also offers one of the benefits that you have, and for retirees as well, is that they also have um, senior living houses for retirees as well. And you could go on the VA website and find out more about those products and how they can help you, as well as go ahead and again run to your county veteran service officer and get hooked up with some with under the PAC Act and revamp your claims. All right. So, anyways, hey, that's all the pleasantries out of the way. Let me take a good swag of my Michael Jackson coffee mug. Sometimes you got to do that with I have to do that when I drink out of this coffee mug. Anyway, so I was thinking today, I was just kind of looking back at my Marine Corps career, and and my deployments and such. So, I was deployed quite a few times. Some friends of mine have been deployed a whole bunch of more times than others, and I guess I was doing a comparison between single deployment, when I wasn't married, or and then after I was married. And I think that, as I look back, just the mindset was totally different. Obviously, this whole war on terrorism and such under my career, because I think every 10 years or every so many years there's a conflict or something that impacts uh, this American society or the world as a whole, that puts us in the in the line of fire, or this whole on a conflict, and whatever. In the 80s we had the Beirut barracks explosion in Lebanon. So that's a tragic event that happened, which led, and then also towards the end of that time frame, we had Saddam Hussein, and Iraq somewhat exploding a little bit. So, uh, you know, but I went on some deployments back then, and it wasn't too, it wasn't in support of like OIF, Operation, Enduring Freedom, or Iraqi Freedom. So, we got to go to some places and such, and yeah, there was somewhat of a threat, because the threat always exists. Uh, but I got to do some cool things, do some joint exercises and such with other countries, and so on and so forth, and join task forces. And as I was comparing between the two, I mean, there was a huge difference. Obviously, I remember that after 9/11, I remember I was just standing there, kind of just like everybody else, in awe of what had happened and such. And we're standing there, and then we get a phone call, pretty much, hey, they're calling everybody back. At this time, I was with 4th LAR Battalion, so shout out to my fellow Iron Horse comrades. By the way, we're having our 20th year reunion here on in next month in April. Towards the end, we're going to the Marine Corps Memorial. We're going to DC basically, and Ton Tavern and all that good stuff. So, but shout out to them. Anyways, I was part, I staff, permanent personnel at a reserve duty station, and everybody got recalled in, and basically, hey, there's a good possibility. They started passing the word, hey, there's, we're pretty much going after this. So we were doing workups and all those different things, and um, they start making manifests and all, and who's going to go first, because obviously we go in waves or sticks, as we call it, deployment sticks. Uh, in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom, or OIF. Anyways, at that time I was married with my two kids, and first I wasn't on the first manifest. I was in another one. So like three times, they so there's a whole bunch of things that happen as you're getting ready to deploy. I mean, you're making wills, power of attorneys. You're and because now shit is real. Things have, this is not, hey, we're going to deploy, man, exercise, whatever. No, we're going to somewhere, and is the possibility of dying there? Hell yes, it is. I mean, it does exist. The threat is there, and the likeliness that that you're not going to come back, is there. So, anyways, you know, building through this whole thing, and we got all these guys on deck, and pretty, again, this building, we had already the vehicle readiness, we went to March Air Force Base to, make sure the vehicles got inspected and blah blah blah. It was just, it was just crazy, and I'm looking, I'm like, nah, goddamn, in my, so many years of being in the service, not I didn't think, at that time, even though the threat was there, I was like, oh wow, this did happen, and we are going somewhere, and it makes you, I guess, I don't know, and I don't want to draw that line on the sand, but it does make you a little bit more aware of the fact that you have family and people that depend on you to be there. Um, it makes shit more real, and I guess it makes you more aware of your mortality, as well as um, it's like, oh goddamn, all these people, and what's going to happen, what's going to happen to them if I die, these are things I actually thought of, will they miss me, what, what kind of it's weird, but I was like, what song would they play at my funeral, because you're trying to come into grasp with things that how can I put it, you want to keep control of the situation, because we as human beings, we want to keep maintain control, because that's, it's an unknown. I mean, you don't know if if it's your time to go, if that's when God, the universe, whatever it is that you believe in, once there, I mean, it's your time to go, period. So, you know but yeah, I was just wondering all these different things, and I was like, well, shit, uh Kenny and I, Ken, who's been on my show before, I don't know, for whatever reason I remember this, but um he was he was saying, we talked about it once, and like, hey, if this is right before we went to boot camp, it's like, man, if I don't know how we got into a conversation, but he was like, dude, if something happens to me, I want you to play this song by I think it's something about, can I can you stand the rain? I think it's I forgot the name of the band. It's those guys. Brian, if you're there and you want to shoot out the name of the band, it's the one that they almost all of them died on an airplane crash in the 70s, and then they made another band after it. Anyways, that, he told me, hey, play that song. I forgot which one I told him that I wanted. I don't know. It might have been some merengue song or some shit. I don't know. But we were, we kind of got into this morbid conversation, him and I, and then years later, here I am, uh, thinking about the same thing, in regards to what's going to happen to me, and you know, how would people, react? These are the things that kind of go through your head. Anyways, as we're getting ready to go through, we're going through all these things like that now make sense, as a whole. As I mentioned, you're doing your wills, power of attorneys, beneficiaries for your insurance, single group life insurance. These things that now it all makes sense. Like, oh wow, this is why we go ahead and and do all these things, these audits, through our personnel office. And that's one that makes because God forbid you're going to leave your stuff to your ex-girlfriend or whatever, somebody you're not even with anymore. So you think about all these things, as to why is it that when you're getting ready to deploy. So, anyways, they had put me, moving time forward. I'm getting ready to go. They put me on the manifest, and so that day, my wife, my wife at the time, my kids, they're right there at the unit. We're all getting ready to go on the bus, and I'm saying goodbye to them, and it just everybody's crying. I'm crying. My little girl at that time, I think she was 5. Yeah, I think she was 5 at that time, and my son was 9. And it was just, we're all holding each other for dear life. And I get on the bus, then my name gets called. Hey, Sergeant Korea, come on out, you're not going. And it's like, oh shit, no, you get, today's not, you're not going to go today, you're on the other manifest, blah blah. So I don't go with that stick. And so it's like, okay, I get to go home for that night. But we just, and then the next day, same shit and all over again. Yep, you're leaving. Pack your shit, bring it back, blah blah. Then again, it's another. It just this went on for like pretty much like 2 3 days, and I had already kept. It was to a point where I even told them. I say, hey, look, you just drop me off. We've already said goodbye to all these times. This is just much on me, and it's way too much on you. Just go ahead and go. Don't stick around. Don't beat yourselves up like that. But they stuck around. Obviously, they wanted to see me go off and everything. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. And it's crazy that for us, those of us who were on active duty, um maybe we're a little bit different, because constantly we're that is always illuminating in the back of your head, like, hey, this is what we train, this is what this is what we do. And it's kind of like the Super Bowl, we've led up to it. But for our reservists, it was a little bit different, because these young men and women, they put the hold for a weekend. They come and do their thing, their training. We set them up for success. Then they go, and then on the summers or whenever they do their 2 week annual training. And that's pretty much, and that's kind of like the thing. And again, not drawing that line on the sand. However, in they're out there in their community doing great things, and we're on the active duty side. We support them, and we're doing great things on our end. But so for us, it's just okay. This is happening, even though it sucks, and we don't know if we're coming back. I know I could only imagine how, because I was a reserve when I got out of the Marine Corps. I was a reservist for and a couple of months, while I came back to active duty. So I can understand a little bit how they, where they're coming from. So, anyways, we're in March Air Force Base, and everybody, you have this romantic view, because none of us, unless you were some of the remnants, some of the folks that were left from, that I kind of grew up with from the 80s and even 70s, who deployed and were somewhat in these major events that happen around the world, with the possibility of them having to deploy there. Nobody else had any experience as to, oh shit, what's going to happen. So you have this romantic view, oh shit, I can't wait, what's going to happen. And well, if somebody shoots at me, I'm going to shoot back. Again, we're all basing all this stuff on shit that you see on TV, Heartbreak Ridge, Black Hawk Down, all the movies are on that time frame, and the ones that I grew up with. Again, nobody has a clue. All we knew is that, hey, this is how we do train. This is what we train, and this is what we do per, the manuals and the things that we rehearsed and read while we were going through Moto T school and infantry school and whatever. And we get into country, and it's just a shit show. You could say it was an organized shit show because you've been on the air for like 20+ hours. Yeah, there were some. We landed along the way, in Spain. Then we landed in Ireland, and then boom, we were in Iraq. So, but it was just, you're kind of all over the place, and then you land, and then boom, you're pretty much you're at this logistics hub, and you have people all from all kinds of branches landing in this one place. You're trying to find your gears, and if your gear landed there before you, you're trying to find your stuff, your rolling stock. What I mean, your transportation equipment and stuff. And if you were there and you flew with your stuff, like we were lucky enough that we did. Now you got to find where's the rest of your unit. So that way then you start creating manifests. Who's going to ride in your vehicles? Who's going to go where? What vehicle goes to what section? Logistics, administration, administrative vehicle, this, that, and then you start forming what we call these rolling sticks. So I mean, you're back, you're on the go. I mean, you're going a million miles, and you don't have time to think about, fuck, am I gonna die today? This you don't. You really don't. You don't have time to worry about those things because there's so many other shit going on that everything else just kind of takes a back burner. It's just kind of weird how um you're placed in a situation. Even our folks who were in the reserves, I mean, these guys and gals, I mean, they did outstanding, because everything just kind of clicked. Even thank God that we had a little bit of time to get some time, these guys somewhat in the mindset, uh, and train them a little bit for, again, this is before we even deployed, after Iraq hit, that we were able to, to somewhat put together somewhat of a training package to get these guys kind of in that mindset. And so we're in country, and then you're just waiting, hurry up and wait. And that's one of the things where people tend to get in a lot more trouble, is that you're waiting to do something. You got to get to this place, and now you're there for a day or two. There's no information. And at that time, I wasn't an officer yet, but I was part of the permanent staff at this unit, and you're just waiting for information. So people are getting restless. What's going on? Where the fuck are we going? Where's our CO, our commanding officer? Where's staff sergeant so and so? Where's our leadership? And people get restless because there is no information. And I'm pretty sure, and knowing now, once I got to be as a senior leader, yeah, it just, we too were like, what the fuck is going on? Where's the colonel? Because the CO, the commanding officer, got there way before us, and then he went with the forward party, trying to chase the fight. You know, uh, so we're kind of playing. Here's the logistics hub, one of the most important pieces of this whole deployment, with these guys playing catch up with the leadership that had already pushed forward, and nobody knew where the fuck they were at. So when you're in this environment, you're kind of like, you're scrambling and scraping the bottom of that barrel with a rusty spoon, trying to get some information and gather something so you can pass to your troops, and you can let them know, hey, we're leaving on this date, and this is where we're going, and this is how we're going to get there, and blah blah. So once you get that information, then things just kind of start flowing. You're like, okay, this is where we're going, this is what we're going to do. And then so that way, we can, us on the back end, we can start planning how is it that we're going to get from point A to point B. And for me on the transportation side, that was very crucial. We had to work with the intel side, and see how much information they had. So what roadways were clear, which areas were having were the most friction of threat and firefights and attacks. so that way we can, we know that if we can avoid them, great. If not, if we have to push through, okay, what course of action we were to take in the middle of those, in those should a situation present itself. So, but just a lot of things. It's not like you see in the movies where it seems somewhat organized, like, oh, hey, we're gonna do this, and fight happens, and no, it's a bunch of stuff, and again, you have very little room to reminisce and think about those back home. When you do, you try to ram all that shit somewhere, in the back of your brain housing group, because you don't want to let it affect you. Because the moment you do, your head is not in the game, and that's for sure when things go the wrong way, and shit goes bad. Bottom line is, if your mind is somewhere else, you're not concentrated on the task at hand. Things can happen. At that time, that is the point where you don't want to make mistakes. The point of making mistakes was back home, back in the rear with the gear, when you were training. And that's why we always preach, hey, the more you sweat during training, the less you will bleed during combat. I mean, it makes it, you don't, when you, that's again, at that point, if you're going to make a mistake, lives are going to be lost. People are going to die. Those who are, under you and looking up to you, somebody's going to pay that price because of your mistakes or their mistakes. So it in that environment, shit happens in the sense that, hey, you're in a firefight, cause and effect, firefight, people die, combat, that's it is understood. 1 + 1 = that, if that makes sense. But mistakes, things that could have been prevented or be better training or whatever, those, that is unexcusable. you know so so this is leading up to, and we hadn't even left, and once we started, okay, hey, this is the day we're departing. We were making all that planning and such, because you want to keep your Marines or your service members busy. You want to keep them busy and give them as much information as they need. Keep them engaged in time, because again, that's where they get hurt. That's complacency starts setting in. uh they'll start screwing around, playing around, not taking shit seriously, and that's when people get hurt. uh you know and you want to prevent that. One of the things that I remember from one as a I think it was tactical logistics course, TLOC, is that what the Romans used to do is, once the battle was over, and they overtook a town or a country or whatever, they would put their soldiers to work and rebuild that town, that city. They reconstruct it back again, and their purpose for that is to keep their soldiers busy and from doing stupid shit, and and getting into trouble, and then, because yes, even though they won the battle, and there might be the overtaking force, you still want to work on winning the hearts and minds, and the last thing you need is for your soldiers to do stupid stuff with the local population, where people will revolt and then against you, and then now you're battling all over again, and they may kick you out. So now we're talking tactics and logistics, tactics, combat tactics, but that's what we're trying to prevent. So and that we hadn't we hadn't even left the country, and as we're leading up to that, coming that crossing the line of departure, that was another thing right there. So, but I just kind of think, as I look back this whole week, and and having some conversations with some friends, I was just like, they were like, hey, because our experience were a little bit different. But I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to talk about this and make like a part series, and call it my deployment diary. So I want to talk about this today. I thought it was important. hopefully, if my kids are listening, it might give them just a little bit of insight of what I had to go through. Because a lot of us don't like to talk about this shit. We only like to talk about it when we get together. Again, I got a reunion coming up with for one of my deployments, and that was through the 4th LAR. So, but that's the only time we like to open up, and we talk about the good times and even the shitty times. And maybe I'll if hopefully I'll get one of the guys to kind of share their story as well, and we'll compare uh, experiences during that reunion. I think that might be a good show. But hey, before I get out of here, I just want to say that if you've been ruminating or those dark thoughts have been creeping up on you, you know, reach out to our show, reach out to a friend, uh, share, talk to somebody, TRICARE, VA, suicide hotline, but just talk to somebody, please. Because while it's great to do all these challenges of 22 push-ups, you know, uh, um, other things, I see people hiking across the U.S. and to raise awareness. That is all fine and great, and those are all very nice causes. But the bottom line is that they're not going to replace when you taking your life and doing something that everything has moments and it'll pass. So so just reach out. Let's not do this because there are better options. So anyways, that's it for today, everybody. That's our show. Hope tune in next week, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow. But that is it for today. So we're gonna go ahead and index. Hoorah, get some Aistemas Daisuki, baby. Adios, muchachos.